Well, good morning. Here we are now talking about Pythagorean theorem and applications to right triangles. So here we're going to be solving for a missing side using the Pythagorean theorem. Hopefully you've looked over that worksheet that was included that showed you the Pythagorean theorem and the triangles and a squared, b squared, c squared, etc. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to write the formula down at the very top. So this should be familiar to you. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And remind yourself, I'll just do this once. This is one of the legs squared plus another leg squared, and that equals the hypotenuse squared. Okay, that is the formula given to us by Mr. Pythagoras many years ago. And remember the legs, okay, a little side note, the legs form the right angle. So keep that in mind. Every time you do that, the legs always form the right angle. So in my picture here, I look for 16 would be considered a leg. The missing side is also a leg, and 65 is my hypotenuse. I'm just going to abbreviate those to help me when I'm writing these down and solving them. So I would go 16 squared plus what I don't know, let's call that b for right now. B squared is equal to 65 squared. Okay. So when I square 16, I get 256 plus b squared is equal to, now 65 squared is 4,225. Getting b squared by itself, I need to subtract 256 from both sides, and I get b squared is equal to 3,969. Okay, now last step. In all of our Pythagorean formula questions, the last step is always square root. So make sure you are square rooting your final answer every single time, because we have b squared, and what knocks out a square symbol is the square root. So square root of b squared will give me capital B, and that's going to equal the square root of 3,969, which is going to be 63. So make sure we are doing that every single time. Our last step, again, square root. Point right to it. So make sure you are doing that every single time. Square root your final answer, and this will give us 63. Okay. Alright, number 2. We're given a leg. I was going to put an L there for leg. This is another leg. A hypotenuse, I do not know. Okay. So I'm going to go 9 squared plus 40 squared is equal to c squared. Okay, again, I could use h if I wanted to, but I'm just going to stick to the formula a, b, and c, just so that reminds you a here, b here, and c here. So then 9 squared is 81 plus 40 squared, which is 1600. I'm going to add those together into square root. Oops, take that back. 1681 will equal c squared, getting a little bit ahead of myself here. And again, last step, square root of c squared, which will give me c. And I have to square root 1681. And square root 1681, you get a final answer of 41. Again, square rooting at the very end to get that final answer. Okay, question number 3. We have 24 as a leg, 32 as a leg. So it's going to be just like my previous problem. 24 squared plus 32 squared equal to c squared. 24 squared is 576 plus 32 squared, which is 1024. If I add those up, I get 1600 is equal to c squared. Again, last step, square root that. and it'll get you down to c. So square root 1600, and the square root of 1600 is 40. Final answer. The last question we do on this one is I'm given a leg this time. I don't know one of these legs. We'll call that B. And 73 is my hypotenuse. Okay, which we know we let that always be the letter C. So 48 squared plus B squared is equal to 73 squared. One thing on your calculators, you could do it this way. So I'm at this stage right here. If I do it on my calculator, I would subtract 48 squared. Subtract 48 squared. So you can actually go B squared is equal to my hypotenuse squared minus my leg squared. This you could do right on your calculator, and if you do that, you'll get 3,025. Kind of saves you a step if you know that you have to subtract them. Notice if you're given the two legs, you're going to add them when you're given two legs and then subtract your answer. But when you're given one of each, a leg and a hypotenuse, it's the hypotenuse subtracted from the leg. So you'd square those and get your final answer. Then of course the last step is always the square root. And so when I square root 3,025, I get the answer of 55. So that's what B equals. It's kind of finishing off the question. There you go. So there you go. I got 4 nice easy examples to go through, as well as the worksheet that was given to you. Not really a worksheet, but more of a handout to help you through Pythagorean theorem. So make sure you use both of those. These are some pretty good examples. The next worksheet will be some story problems we'll work on. Thank you. Have a great day.